Welcome to the news here on IETV and to our viewers on IETVTT.com. I'm Kevin Maharaj. Thank you for joining us. In the headlines, over $16 million spent on 2026 Flavor Village Carnival Initiative setup and execution. The TTPS website restored after outage caused by non-payment to service provider, and suspects in the murders of Reshmi Deojit and Rajkumar Pope appeared in court today. In our top story, more than $16 million was expended on the setup and execution of 2026 Flavor Village initiative during the carnival period. The figure was disclosed in a written response by the Minister of Culture and Community Development in the Senate on Wednesday. Documents laid in Parliament showed that $13.5 million was allocated under line item 28 for other constructed services, while $1,484,500 was spent under line item 62 for promotions, publicity, and printing. Additional smaller expenditures were directed towards short-term employment, security, and the construction of facilities. The response also outlined the procurement procedures used, along with the criteria and methodology for awarding contracts. It stated that these criteria were applied in keeping with established principles of transparency, value for money, and fairness in accordance with the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act. Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander has confirmed that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service website is back online following an outage during February and early March. He explained that the disruption was due to non-payment to the external service provider responsible for hosting and maintaining the platform. The minister added that some features remain temporarily unavailable as maintenance and system upgrades continue.
Based on information provided to the Ministry by the Commissioner of Police, the website of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service experienced a period of unavailability during the month of February and extended into early March 2026. The Commissioner of Police has advised that the interruption arose in circumstances where there was outstanding payments to the external service provider responsible for hosting and maintaining of the website, including an invoice relating to service rendered in 2025 and a subsequent invoice for 2026. Mr. President, I am advised that the matter has since been addressed and the website has now been restored to service.
Suspects in the killing of Cedros cricketer Reshmi Deojit and father of two Rajkumar Pope appeared before the courts today. Director of Public Prosecution gave instructions on Wednesday for both men to be formally charged. Deojit, 28, a sales merchandiser, was discovered dead at her home at Tat Trace, Granville on March 17th. Relatives reported that she was last seen around 8 p.m. that previous night in an argument with a man she reportedly considered as a friend. Earlier that evening, the two had been socializing and drinking with family members. Concerns arose the following day when the father and brother, who lived nearby, heard her phone ringing inside her house. At about 6:30 p.m., her brother gained entry through a window and found her unresponsive on the bed. A post-mortem examination determined that she died from head injuries and strangulation. The suspect initially evaded police, but was later arrested, that is, at a house in Couva after officers acted on information received last Saturday. In a separate incident, 45-year-old Rajkumar Pope, a supervisor with the engineering department of the Ministry of Agriculture, died following an altercation on March 26. Pope had just picked up his wife and children and sister after celebrating his daughter's completion of the secondary entrance assessment exam. While on their way home to French Village, San Fernando, the family stopped at a mini-mart. CCTV footage reportedly captured the suspect attacking Pope shortly after he entered the establishment, leading to a physical altercation. The fight was eventually broken up by the suspect's father and Pope's wife. Pope later complained of feeling unwell after returning home and was taken by ambulance to the San Fernando General Hospital, where he died. An autopsy concluded that his death resulted from a heart complication along with blunt force trauma to the head. Police say the suspect, who resides in the same community as Pope family, that is also relative of 13-year-old Maria Sinat, who was murdered last September. Investigations are ongoing by officers of the Homicide Bureau of Investigations. We pause for a moment. More news when we come back.
From the freshness of the ocean, Rainbow has sealed in all the natural, healthy goodness in their canned tuna, sardines, and mackerel. So go ahead, enjoy some crispy sardines, stewed mackerel, or a creamy tuna salad. Because while your tummy enjoys the great taste, your heart and immunity will love the healthy omega-3s, calcium, protein, and more. Rainbow's canned tuna, sardines, and mackerel are 100% real fish. So it's tasty, healthy eating for your body, heart, and mind. Rainbow canned fish.
Tile Expressions Limited, as one of the largest importers of tiles, offers an extensive range of high-quality tiles in ceramic, porcelain, granite, stone, and mosaic options. Additionally, we offer a variety of tile accessories and bathroom sets to complement any decor style. We are committed to providing exceptional customer service and swift delivery of all products. From indoor and outdoor tiles to bathroom sets and tile accessories, we have curated a range that caters to both traditional and modern taste. Lampus 13, Ajudha Road, Munro Road, Canopio. Call 223-8453.
And welcome back. The leadership of the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association is calling for stricter enforcement to curb the ongoing theft of copper and other materials by criminal elements. The group is urging the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to actively enforce enhancing legislation to address the issues. Speaking at a media briefing on Wednesday, Association President Arnold Ferguson distanced legitimate scrap iron dealers from the persistent reports of theft targeting private home and critical infrastructure. He pointed to the recent incident involving the theft of more than $100,000 worth of copper wire from the home of former President Anthony Carmona as an example of the growing concern.
So I don't want nobody come now, after we're doing all this work, to put no blame on the association. No blame on the association. Because we're working hard to fix this. And it says people just don't care. Not even to enforce law. We warn them about this theft. We warn them about what we see now, what's taking place all over Trinidad and Tobago. So you could understand. We know that if you don't fix it, or you don't enforce the law, a lot of things will take place that ain't supposed to be taking place right now as we speak. These fellas who stealing, when go and steal not because they have no market to sell it. And this is the problem we have in the people who buying. And that is why we need the authority to come down on all these people all over Trinidad and Tobago. The people who open up yards without license, as the Vice President just mentioned, is plenty.
A split sentencing approach could soon transform how offenders are punished and reintegrated into society. The measure, where a portion of the sentence is served behind bars and the remainder under supervision condition within the community, was discussed during Wednesday's Senate debate on the Probation of Offenders Bill 2026. The proposal is aimed at easing prison overcrowding while enhancing opportunities for rehabilitation.
It ensures that offenders are held accountable through imprisonment, but are given a structured support to reintegrate into society. If, however, Mr. President, he fails or he commits another offense, that is the probationer, he will do the full sentence or he will come back to serve the remainder of his sentence. If you are successful in your period of probation, the probationer can apply to the court to have your record sealed. This is a forward-looking measure, Mr. President. It supports reintegration back into society. giving rehabilitated individuals a second chance to build their lives free from the stigma of past mistakes. In other words, you seal, it doesn't show up on your court record. Get back out into the workplace. You can get your certificate of character from the police, which is a requirement these days, it seems, in most places. And you get back on your feet and you move it.
Prime Minister Kamla Persaud-Bissessar has extended heartfelt greetings to the Hindu community across Trinidad and Tobago on the observance of Hanuman Jayanti. The Prime Minister noted that the occasion marks the birth of Lord Hanuman, whose life symbolizes devotion, strength, humanity, and selfless service. She said these values continue to resonate within communities across the country, helping to strengthen families, encourage unity, and inspire acts of service. The Prime Minister also urged citizens to reflect on these principles and apply them in fostering a more united, resilient, and compassionate society. She said on behalf of the government and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, she extended best wishes for a peaceful and blessed Hanuman Jayanti. Chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago NGL Limited, Gerard Ramdeen, has rejected allegations made by former Prime Minister Stuart Young regarding the company's operations, describing the claims as irresponsible and reckless. Ramdeen warned that such statements could negatively impact both the public and the company's shareholders.
Trinidad and Tobago NGL Limited, that those statements that were made by the former Prime Minister, the former 45 days Prime Minister, are inaccurate, they are reckless, they are irresponsible, and they amount to nothing more than a bold-faced lie. That is what it is, a bold-faced lie. What the former Prime Minister has done is to attack my board and my directors. I have no problem if you attack me. They do that every day, and I'm up for that, but not my directors, and not the company that I lead. These people who have agreed to do public service, they have done that to serve the people of this country in a public traded company. And I can tell you, from the date of their appointment, they have worked hard. They have dedicated their time, their effort, their experience, and their skill to turn around the damage that was done to TTNGL.
You're watching IETV News. We return after these messages.
Are you renewing your motor, homeowner or business insurances shortly? Then call Kalyani Limited, agency for Tatil, for a competitive quote. With 2 locations, Todd Street, El Socorro and 5 Rivers, Aruca. Please call us at 221-5051 or 227-5051. Kalyani Limited, agency for Tatil, building relationships exceeding expectations.
Who doesn't love a good story? Science is no different. Breakthroughs in medicine, technology, or astronomy didn't just happen overnight. It's stories of lucky breaks, hardships, biases, serendipity, and tragedies. Even stories that make you laugh. There were battles of ideas, sometimes lasting hundreds of years and even thousands, until we got it just right. So sit back and relax, grab that cup of tea, and join me as we explore stories from science.
And welcome back. Senator Dominic Smith, Minister of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence, contributed to last week's Senate debate on the Comprehensive National Strategic Plan for Persons with Disabilities, outlining the government's vision to greater inclusion, accessibility and support for persons living with disabilities across Trinidad and Tobago. He highlighted the ongoing and planned initiatives aimed at improving access to public services, enhancing digital inclusion, and strengthening policy frameworks to better meet the needs for disability community.
Mr. President, through the work of the Ministry of Public Admin and AI, we are building systems to recognize every citizen, regardless of age, ethnicity, disability, or gender. Systems that are accessible by design. Systems that do not exclude, but instead bring people in. Mr. President, this has already taken shape. The Ministry is actively supporting the Ministry of the People, Social Development and Family Services in the automation of its internal and external platforms. This is not management by VAPs, as my friend Dr. Atz used to say in our economics lectures. This is not economics and management by VAPs. This is coordinated, Mr. President. This is calculated.
Let's now take a look at some international news.
The financial markets had rallied on Wednesday on the expectation that Donald Trump's address to the nation will be de-escalatory. Instead, he has said that the war will continue and has threatened to strike Iranian power plants very hard and to send Iran into a stone age. In response, all assets that were rallying on peace hopes were sold off immediately. The U.S. crude prices surged by over 5% to back over $106 per barrel. From $98 on Wednesday, the treasuries dropped across the curve after Trump's threatening tone towards Iran in a prime-time address to the nation. The U.S. gas prices then extended a surge above $4 per gallon and stayed above their highest level since August 2022 last month. The 36% spike in March from about $2.98 before the war began is the biggest that has been witnessed in the last 30 years. On Thursday, the Standard & Poor's 500 futures erased $550 billion in terms of market capitalization in just 25 minutes after Trump's speech. Stocks and oil prices are increasingly moving in opposite direction. The Standard & Poor's 500 has declined over 4% over the last 50 trading sessions, while crude oil prices have surged by more than 72%. The Wall Street benchmark and the United States oil have moved in opposite directions in 38 sessions over the last 50 trading sessions. This is the highest in the last 20 years. This has also surpassed the previous record of 36 trading days that was set during the 2008 financial crisis. The Wall Street futures are down by over 1%, reversing a market rally in the previous session. The MSCI's Asia Pacific Share Index has dropped by 1.7%. Reversing a rebound from its worst month in more than 17 years. The Indian benchmarks were an exception to the broader sell-off trend. While domestic stocks crashed over 2% in early trade, they recouped the losses to end the day in green. Precious metals tumbled, with gold falling nearly 1.6% to about $4,680 an ounce. Bitcoin fell by over 2% to around $67,000.
Well, in India too, people have responded to Iran's call for assistance. But the money being raised here will not be sent to Tehran. Instead, the funds will stay in India and will be used to purchase medicines locally.
Well, according to reports, Iran plans to use the donations collected by its embassy in India to buy medical supplies within the country. This is because the funds cannot be transferred directly to Iran through the regular diplomatic process. Donations raised by foreign embassies fall into a regulatory grey zone in India.
However, there are clear restrictions on how these missions can handle such contributions. Embassies are not allowed to use their primary official bank accounts to collect donations. They are also barred from accepting funds in cash or through informal channels.
But this means that even gold and jewelry donated in different parts of India, including Kashmir, cannot be sent to Iran. Such items have to be deposited in local banks and converted into money before they can be used. The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations lays down the framework for diplomatic conduct between countries.
Although it does not specifically address fundraising by foreign embassies, what it does allow is for diplomatic missions to maintain banking facilities in the host country. But those accounts cannot be used for activities beyond their official purpose.
Well, in the case of Iran, the embassy initially sought donations through its main bank account on the 14th of March. Later, it opened a separate account with the State Bank of India specifically for this purpose. Reports suggest the embassy had also briefly mentioned the option of direct cash contributions around the 15th of March, but the process was later formalized and donors were asked to send funds only through the designated account.
Now, India has also sent a consignment of medicines to Iran separately as part of its own assistance.
And Donald Trump has launched a fresh tirade against European nations for refusing to join the U.S. offensive against Iran. Now, Trump, in fact, told allies to go get their own oil, saying that it is not America's job to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump claimed that the U.S. offensive could, of course, conclude within 2 to 3 weeks and has warned that he will not have anything to do with the waterway's future.
I think that the people understand it. We'll be leaving very soon, and if France or some other country wants to get oil or gas, they'll go up through the Strait and Hormuz Strait. They'll go right up there and they'll be able to fend for themselves. I think it'll be very safe, actually, but we have nothing to do with that.
And earlier on Truth Social, Trump had told governments had worried about the fuel prices to go get their own oil by force, and this outburst followed proactive pushback from Europe. Now, France had blocked Israeli planes carrying weapons from its airspace. Italy denied last-minute landing rights to U.S. bombers in Sicily, and Spain has barred the U.S. from using its bases and airspace. While the UK allows the use of its bases for a war on its own government deems to be illegal, it still has faced Trump's public admonishment. Now, Trump, in fact, suggested the United Kingdom and others should build up some delayed courage and take control of the straits themselves. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth echoed this questioning as to why the big bad Royal Navy was not stepping up to help out the Americans.
Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most. So the world ought to pay attention and be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on.
And the United Kingdom is sending extra troops and more air defense systems to the region for defensive action on a trip to the Gulf. Nation's Defense Secretary John Healey said that extra air defense systems will be deployed to Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and Kuwait, while the use of Typhoon jets in Qatar will be extended. This will raise the number of UK personnel involved in the defense of the Gulf and Cyprus to around 1,000. Meanwhile, the economic fallout of war is intensifying. The Irish leader Michael Martin has described the resulting oil supply shock as probably the worst ever. With US gas prices now exceeding $4 a gallon, Trump is facing a domestic discontentment over this month-long conflict. From the Vatican, the Pope has also expressed hope for an end to the violence by Easter weekend. In an unusual direct appeal, he's urged President Donald Trump to look for an off-ramp to end this war.
So I would certainly continue to give this call to all leaders of the world and say, come back to the table to dialogue. Let's look for solutions to problems. Let's look for ways to reduce the amount of violence that we're promoting. And the peace, especially at Easter, might reign in our hearts.
Now, earlier during his Palm Sunday address, the pontiff had remarked that God ignores the prayers of leaders with hands full of blood, a statement widely seen as a rebuke of Donald Trump and his war on West Asia.
When we return, your weather update and more. Stay tuned.
In our lives, there are moments that need to be remembered. Are you hosting a Ramayana Yagya, religious or cultural event or celebration? Would you like to have it aired live on IETV or recorded for playback later? We will air your program on IETV and IE Radio, with your viewers joining locally and internationally. Your family and friends worldwide can view on www.ietvtt.com or listen on ieradiott.com. To make arrangements, call or WhatsApp IETV at 784-9880. Let us record your cherished moments and share it.
Welcome back to IETV's Major News. Let's take a look at today's weather forecast.
Today was generally fair and sunny, with brief light to moderate showers developing during the afternoon period, particularly over hilly districts and western areas of Trinidad. Those showers are typically for this time of year, driven by daytime heat and the influence of local terrain, which can trigger short-lived convective activity in in-island and elevated regions. Temperatures remain warm, reaching the lows of 30 degrees Celsius, while moderate easterly breezes provided some relief. Tonight, conditions are expected to settle, becoming mostly clear, with a low chance of brief passing showers.
Let's take a look at some crime news.
In some crime news, officers of the Port of Spain Task Force recovered a stolen vehicle during a mobile patrol conducted between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Sunday, 29th March. The patrol was spearheaded by Senior Superintendent Thumb, Superintendent Beard, ASP Cadet, and Inspector Durga, and supervised by Corporal Harry Prasad. During the exercise, officers focused on high-risk areas across the Port of Spain division, including Belmont, Bessel Street, Central Police Station districts, downtown Port of Spain, Beetham Gardens, and Chinapu Morva. Particular attention was paid to known gang zones, drug blocks, and locations associated with stolen vehicles. During the patrol, a silver Toyota field wagon reported stolen earlier that morning from 11th Street, Barataria, was recovered on Chinapu Road, Morva. The vehicle was conveyed to Barataria Police Station and handed over to Corporal Gordon. In addition to the vehicle recovery, officers conducted 13 field interviews and 10 vehicle stops. The operation underscores the commitment of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to maintaining public safety, disrupting criminal activity, and recovering stolen property for the community. In a coordinated early morning operation, officers from the Point Fortin CID, supported by Labre Guapo CID, the South Western Division Task Force, Area East, and local patrol units arrested 2 individuals in connection with illegal firearm possession. Around 3:55 a.m. on Sunday, 29th March, police acting on intelligence visited a residence at Salazar Street, Point Fortin. A search of the bedroom revealed a black Beretta firearm, 1 magazine, and 5 rounds of 9mm ammunition. The 2 occupants were at the home at the time, a 22-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman, who both were not in possession of a valid firearms user's license or certificate. Both suspects were arrested and charged for possession of a firearm and possession of ammunition. 1 male suspect was arrested and 2 firearms and quantities of ammunition and cannabis seized during state of emergency operations conducted in the Western Division. In the latest exercise, officers of the St. James Criminal Investigations Department conducted steady guard operation between 11 p.m. on Sunday, 29th March and 3 a.m. on Monday, 30th March. During the exercise, the officers proceeded to the St. James home of a male suspect, where they conducted a search which resulted in the discovery of 1 Glock 19 pistol loaded with an extended magazine containing 18 rounds of ammunition. 1 bag containing 277 grams of cannabis was also found and seized. The suspect, who was on the premises at the time of the search, was arrested in connection with the finds. The exercise exercise was sanctioned by Senior Superintendent Williams, coordinated by ASP Aguilera, Inspector Grant, Inspector Basant, and included personnel from the Western Division Task Force and St. James Police Station. In the second exercise, officers of the WD conducted an exercise between 6:45 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. on Sunday, 29th March, along the Western Main Road, Chaguaramas, during which they attempted to arrest a male suspect. The man, however, made good his escape, but a search of the area resulted in the discovery of one pistol loaded with a magazine containing 3 rounds of ammunition. Investigations are ongoing into the two matters.
Recapping the headlines, over $16 million spent on 2026 Flavor Village Carnival Initiative setup and execution. And the TTPS website was restored after outage caused by non-payment to service provider. And suspects in murders of Rishmi Deojit and Rajkumar Pope appeared in court today. Well, this is where we leave you for now. On behalf of our entire news team, I'm Kevin Maharaj. Thank you for joining us.